Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spider Hands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out 3 tracks off of an album called Tunnel Vision by an act named Hyde Out. And if we switch over to here, we have got this on Spotify, the 12 tracks off of the album. We will be checking out the first 3 of these. It's cool to note we've got the Abbey Road version. I remember hearing that people can get their music actually mastered at Abbey Road Studios now, which is fairly dope. But yeah, we're gonna get into these tracks here over this When the Winter Comes and Armchair Uprise from start to finish. And here we think, let's go. Here we got some distorted guitars on either side of the stereo field. Nice double track. Drums are nice and punchy as well. Like, props to the band so far. I'm gonna try and pause at least this review because I know I do pause a lot in these reviews, but just how well the vocals come in so clearly. There's no intro core. Everything syncs really well, and I'm really happy with it. Oh, sick little snare fill there. Those stacked vocal hums, like that's a really cool way of keeping a passage where you're holding those notes interesting. There's movement despite the length of it. A martyr is born when a quitter gives in. There's some sass in these lyrics, isn't it? When you're crying about your pitiful life or your downs and your outs, black or the white is within or without, people around you tend to wear out. It's over this, you see me, but I'm gone. It's done with it, you hear me, but I'm done. I have to give a massive shout out, well, not onto the slap bass we was hearing just then. It's a nice contrast to the bass patches we've heard before, which I think have mainly been fingerstyle, just kind of do. There's also these lead guitar riffs going on in the background that are kind of subtle as an additional layer to the vocals and the rhythm guitar and the bass and drums within that chorus. And I think it's charming. We're hearing the hook line in that hook as well, which is obviously kind of a 101 of writing a good chorus, but still, it's just all these fundamentals are being adhered to, and we're putting little bits of extra finesse in there as well. Is there some filtering going on in that bass there? That's a great guitar tone. That's lead solo, sounds sensational, and really well considered melodic passage we had there. Ooh, the guy can play, man. This is a huge sounding chorus, isn't it? It's nice to have this outro one go for twice the usual length. Really sensational sounding song so far. It's a shame that it hasn't got as much of attention as the other tracks. These must be incredible. Like really. Oh, they threw it. They were sick of it. They've had no more patience for it. What is Over This about? From what I could tell, like when you're saying Over This in the hook, and there was a little that part about where Ahmad was born. There's a bit of wordplay on, but basically, what is that song about? Hang on, I'll be right back. I just want to have a listen through that first verse again.
Taking it in till you're gonna run out. Letting it go, that's what time is about. Bring it all out when you're crying about. Pitiful life or your downs and your outs. The black or the white is within or without. The people around you pretend to wear out. It's
I think this song is basically about someone who is maybe taking the load of someone or having to deal with a lot themselves, and they're just discussing how they're over this and they need an escape from it and how they're sick of dealing with all the BS. That's what the song, I think, is about. A really well-structured single there. We had a great first impression of the musicians involved within the band. The singer told a great story there. The reason I had to have another listen back through the verses to kind of get that is simply because there's just so much interesting stuff occurring that for me to hear literally everything on the first listen basis is kind of rough. But when the song is written well and performed well, and when it sounds like it's been produced to a professional standard, I'm more than happy to go back and check it out. We got When the Winter Comes, track number 2. What's this one gonna be like? This is the big single, isn't it? 32,000 plays. That's pretty good.
the cold took my breath away. I've been waiting for the seasons to change. There's a fire inside me.
This is very different over this, isn't it? It's a lot more somber and moody.
Never going out. These clouds, they go astray.
There's a sultry texture to his vocals there that I really appreciate and enjoy. We went to the major tonality for a second, then went back down. It's like things got hopeful and then boom, back down to reality.
Wake me when the winter comes. When the year is done, let me rest another year. You'll love me better in my sleep. Yeah, yeah. Whoa.
A shout out for having those octave chord guitars harmonizing with the vocals like that in that range. Because often when you have lead instruments and then you have the vocals, they're in the same frequency range. So if you can get them to work together like that and just have a really huge sound to it, it's fantastic. And it's a really smart choice.
It's not that I'm not feeling well. I'll see you when the magic ends. I guess I'll see you then.
Lots of range to the singer's performance so far. Really knows how to express and emote properly. To suit both the lyrical content and also to keep it entertaining for the listener.
These four won't stay the same. Been trying to find myself some much better days. Just hiding from the shame. Never going out. Won't you take away the rage?
Taking away the rage, waiting for like a better day, etc. When the winter comes.
Wake me when the winter comes. When the year is done, let me rest another year. You'll love me better in my sleep.
So like, are they saying they're going to go to sleep just to suit everyone else and they've kind of given up on trying to be awake? That people prefer them not thinking or not functioning in society the way that they want to? Is it an idea of like someone not being truly awake unless they're being themselves and people want them to be something else for the rest of their lives?
Wake me when the winter comes. When the year is done, let me
They love their lead guitars with the rhythms and the vocals like this, and I like panning them out across the stereo field.
you'll love me better in my sleep. Yeah, yeah. Whoa.
And repeating that melody there for effect. Nice way to end that chorus passage.
It's not that I'm not feeling well. I'll see you when the magic ends. I guess I'll see you then.
So that drum tone that we've got there, and I think we're about to go into a solo section or something. That drum tone is one of the best drum tones I've heard on a recording this year. Whoever did the recording of these instruments did a phenomenal job, and it's great. Well done. Great use of bends there to... Ooh. It's not a cheesy melody. Often when you have those harmonized guitars in there, it can sound like candy, like overset, like sugar. It's just too sweet. But going down into that lower register and having some fourth harmonies or something, or a bit of tension there, is a great way to even out that and kind of help it to fit in with the rest of the content within a track. It's also helped that it's played really well, which it was. Fantastic performance. When it's cold, I promise we'll be fine. So is it too hot during the summer and they're unable to cope with it and they're looking for a time where it's less intense?
It's not that I can hear you well. I'll see you when the music ends, unless it never ends.
Excellent. Fantastic track. Again, that's a solid second one. I understand why it's so popular. I love the textures and the effort they put into filling in the spaces in certain positions, especially where there's a lack of vocals. But then sometimes they're also able to have the guitarist just sit there with a power chord just hanging there with the... They know how to go between different spaces and everything like that, and sort of change the energy levels to suit the mood of a particular section, or just in a general sense of the song. Like if you have a song at full bore the entire time, it can become a little bit overwhelming. But I think Hyde Out were also aware that I've had everything the same kind of intensity as the verses, or at least the intro part. People might not have assumed that you would have, for instance, had that really awesome solo there, or like a really massive, emphatic chorus. It's great. We've got Armchair Rise, track number 3. Oh, this is a little bit more perky, is it? Loving this guitar-led stuff, it's great. Oh, that rolling bass line. 8th note groove there on the drums and the bass. Actually, no, that's incorrect. The drums had a quarter note groove. 1, 2, 3. Do 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 do. The basses were an 8.
The same. You cover up and make it up. Leave us with the blame. Your face covered in disgrace. So laugh it up when time is up. You'll laugh up in your grave. You hold the key to the underground. You're sitting proud as you lay the ground for another armchair, uprise, armchair, uprise. Say the rage that's on your face.
Like, I'm trying to sort of allow myself more time to hear the lyrics and understand the story. Just the idea of Armchair Uprise reminds me of someone who gets really, really grumpy whilst they're watching the television or something like that. And as people have sort of been keyboard warriors and talking about stuff like that. I might be completely off. It might be the opposite of what I'm talking about, but yeah.
Wear it out, the words you spout are dribbled down the drain. Why? Rebels by your side. You reel them in and drive them out till nothing's left to shout.
It's a really cool thing to have that sort of one bar just between that verse and that chorus just to break them up. It's a great device, especially if you put a drum fill in there. If you feel that the verse riff or the verse progression or whatever to do with the verse doesn't necessarily roll immediately into that chorus, just put an extra bar of filler in there as a pseudo bridge, and then you should be fine.
Uprise.
That's a really catchy melody with the guitar there. And again, it's great maybe to have the catchiness come from that guitar riff there so that the voice can simply be a way of a storytelling device. You can carry different elements across different instruments. Yep, that was a pretty solid solo. It wasn't. I preferred the Winter Comes solo, but I think that held its own fairly well. And by the way, by fairly well, I mean as in like, I gotta say this. People have told me that when I say fairly, it sounds patronizing. So I didn't mean it in that way. I mean like really well. Just a bad. I'm trying to work on my word choice during these reviews. So, like, is this song talking about someone who likes to stir the pot and get people upset from the comfort of their own homes? It's people going into a rage and a tizzy because of the world around them whilst not really wanting to. Oh, thank you, Nanoleaf Panels. Yeah, I think it's about people who get really wound up in their own homes and sort of like don't do a lot about the rage they feel, and they just scream and shout. Excellent. Great. You know, I have a lot of love for that. I think that that was really well done, and I have a lot of respect for what Hyde Out managed to accomplish with these 3 tracks. You know, clearly we have a band who is a fundamental understanding of music theory and composition. Each of the members are really adept with their instruments and can play them really well. There were no weak notes or parts where I was like, why did that occur? Or it sounded like they've been practicing really. They've had a lot. They have a great chemistry with each other, and it sounds like they've practiced quite a lot. And without a doubt, I reckon these guys have done some live stuff, and it should be a given that people do live stuff. But the last few years have been tricky with doing live gigs and stuff. This does not present to be a band or a group that is not without a respectable amount of experience, and I think that these guys sound like utter professionals. And as a conclusion, you know, the songs, as I understood it, talked about, you know, over this being, because I can remember these tracks individually, not just because I have a short-term memory, but also because they're memorable. Like, Over This was talking about how we're kind of sick of the responsibilities or the expectations or all the other garbage we have to deal with, and we just want an escape from that. And there's the struggle with that when the winter comes, talking about maybe not being who someone wants to be, or maybe life not being what it is when things are too intense and wanting a more pieced out, chilled time. And maybe that's a metaphor, or I could be wrong. And then, of course, Armchair, Uprise again, which I think is about people getting too wound up with life and things, and being manipulated into getting aggressive and angry over stuff. And again, I could be wrong about this stuff, but if I am, I've given it my best shot from what I've heard. And I think the vocalist, the singer, is phenomenal. I think they have a great control of their voice, and they've got fantastic technique, and the melodies they've crafted both are really interesting on their own, as well as the ways that they deliver those vocal lines, because it wasn't just one sort of setting to it. There were more fragile parts. There were more sort of full-sounding, intense bits where there was a bit of vocal grit and pushed, and we had the vocal harmonies on the sides as well. And yeah, I have a lot of love for what the vocalist was doing here. And what's great about it is that also they put in consideration to what the rest of the different instruments were doing. Now, we had 3 tracks where, like, we had traditional verse, bridges, and choruses, and some songs had like a bar to separate between the verse and the chorus. Each of these tracks had a guitar solo, which I've got a lot of love for, but the bass guitar also got a fair bit of love as well. We heard some really cool sounding bass lines and slap and stuff, and the drums had all the freedom to be able to do the fills they needed to do. I like the fact that we had a core set of instruments that we worked with the entire time, made it really easy to identify and follow what was going on, and gave each of these tracks a consistency, a stylistic and tonal consistency, which I really appreciate. And just in regards to mixing and mastering, recording, mixing, mastering was sensational. No complaints whatsoever. Just flawless EQing, stereo queuing, like stereo field, panning, and all that kind of stuff. You know, limiting compression, all that stuff. The reverb tails, and it's all great. Yep, it's a professional album released by professional musicians, and I really hope that Hyde Out, with their album Tunnel Vision, can get a lot of love because they deserve it. So, if you enjoyed, because this is my review of Tunnel Vision by Hyde Out, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show this act some love via the various social medias and Spotify. Stay cool and stay safe, and please also remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spider hands out.